Hey guys, this is Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under, and today I'm going to show you guys more Krunker.io settings that you need to change. Last month I showed you guys 5 Krunker.io settings that will dramatically improve your experience, and today I'm going to show you guys even more. Now make sure to go and smash that like button if you're excited for this video, and comment in the comment section below what is your hidden Krunker.io setting that dramatically improves your experience, and the top rated comments may be featured in my next video. But with that said guys, let's get straight into it. And the first tip is actually really important, and it's one that I talked about in my previous video but I didn't actually show. So as you can see, this enemy right here, I can see his rank and I can see his name. And because he's not such a good player, I know I can just take him out. He's not very intimidating. But what about if he was a really high ranked player? What if he was like rank 80 or 100, really skilled, and you're a new player at the game? That would be pretty intimidating, right? So my first tip here is to go and disable the name and the rank of the enemy players. So when you go up to them, you're not going to be intimidated if they're a super high rank. Alright guys, so what you need to do is go to your settings and then in the search bar type in name tag, and under here you can see name tag style, and by default it's on everything. But what you can do is set it to health only, and then when you go and hop in game, you will only see the health of your enemies. You won't know their name, you won't know their rank, so you won't be intimidated if they're a verified player, if they're a really high ranked player. They're just random people that you're versing against, and that's really good if you want to get high scores and high amount of kills. Alright guys, let's go on to the next Krunker.io setting, and this one is a little bit of a doozy. So as you can see here, my teammates, you can see their model, the Krunker.io character model. You got your head, the chest, and the legs. Now the thing is, in Krunker.io, the legs don't do much damage. You see a lot of 8s and 7s. It does really low damage with the SMG in particular. So I've hopped in and I've got my little test buddy here, and if I go and shoot him in the leg, it does 8 damage, 9 damage, 9 damage, you know, it does a small amount of damage when you go and shoot him in the leg. In the chest, it's 18, and of course in the head, that's 26. That's a critical amount of damage. The point I'm trying to make here is that legs go and distract you, and they can also go and reduce your FPS a little bit because there's obviously more stuff to render on screen. So introduce the low spec setting. If you type in low spec right here, you turn it on, you will see that the legs of your opponent do not show, but you can still go and shoot them. They still exist, but it goes and puts the focus on the body. And this is quite nice because if you're slide hopping around, you see them, you're more likely to go and track on their chest. And to be fair, if you're a more veteran player, this is not necessarily a tip that you need, but for newer players that want to just get into the habit of aiming a little bit higher to the head and to the chest, this could go and help. Alright guys, the next tip I'm going to show you is one that my friend Frosty Wolf showed me a long time ago, and I have to go and say it actually significantly improves my gameplay. Now by default, whenever you go and fire, you'll see these yellow lines coming out of your gun, and these go and represent the bullets basically, the bullets firing out of your gun. It looks cool, it's a cool visual effect, and it can also be used to go and track where your enemies are, so there is an advantage of having them on. However, when you go in ADS and you keep firing, you see how it's got this flashing effect, and it can potentially go and distract you from actually aiming on your target and trying to get every shot on as possible. Now you would think, okay, this is such a small thing, but it actually does go and help quite a bit if you turn it off. So what you need to do is go to your search bar right here, and then with bullet traces, turn it off, and whenever you hop in game, you'll see the bullet holes obviously in the wall, but you will not go and see the traces coming out of the gun. And that means whenever you try to ADS and beam on a target, there is nothing distracting you. Now to be fair, turning this setting off could just be placebo, but it's something that I really do like keeping off because it just keeps my screen as clean as possible. And that's also a reason why a lot of people go into your settings and primary weapon, they'll turn off their primary weapon, so it only just shows their crosshair. Now I show my primary because it is visually pleasing, but I can understand why some people have it off because there's absolutely nothing blocking your screen. Now, my second tip is really important if you play on multiple computers or on multiple clients. So as you can see here, I have got the default settings and they don't look too pretty. I definitely really like my custom settings a lot more. So if I go to my settings right here and then I swap to my custom settings, how can I go and get these from one client to another? Well, up here, of course, you have the import and export button. So if you click export, it will go and export it to a settings file, and then you can just go and copy paste that into the import. But what about if you want to link it to your account? Alright guys, so as you can see, I'm logged into the official Krunker.io client, and this is what I use to upload my settings using this upload button. So I'm going to go and click that right now, and then I'm going to close the official Krunker client and log into just a completely new browser incognito tab. None of my settings have been saved on this. This is basically like the first time logging into Krunker.io. So what I'm going to go and do is log into my account, and then we'll hop in and see that the settings are default. Everything is default, no saturation. My crosshair is all default Krunker.io settings. So what I'm going to do next is go to settings, then click download, and magically my settings have been imported. This means I don't have to import the whole pastebin text or whatnot. It's a link to my account. It means it's really easy if you want to go and play, let's say on your school computer or just your computer at home. Transferring settings between is really easy. Now, the next tip I'm going to show you guys is really important if you're a younger Krunker.io gamer. Your parents are allowing you to play Krunker, but they don't want you to see any swear words of any kind. Sometimes in the chat, people can say bad words. Sometimes in their names, they can have bad words as well. So what I'm going to do is show you a quick tip, a quick setting to improve that experience so nothing bad gets shown on your screen. So what you need to do is in your search bar, type in profanity and type in the profanity filter. And whenever you go and type in a bad word, it will go and blur. It will go 3 asterisks right there, and it won't go and show in the in-game chat. Now, what about the in-game name? What about if somebody has a bad word in their name? Well, what you can do is go to settings, and then in the search bar, type in streamer. Even if you aren't a streamer, this is available to everybody. And if you turn it on and then hop in game, you will see that the names have been scrambled, and so you won't be able to really make out what the names are of all these people, and that's really good. Now, the last setting I have here is good for older and newer players, and that's in regard to field of view. So if we go into the default settings, as you can see, the field of view and the weapon FOV are both at 100, which actually isn't too bad. You hop in game, you aim down sight, it's not too bad indeed. The default settings has problems in other areas, but you know, field of view isn't one of them. And this is more for older players that have their field of view at like 130 or something like that. I really recommend to reduce it, because there is an effect called warping, and warping is really easy to see if you go and focus on this little present right here. Focus on this present and see what happens to it when I go and move my mouse. See how it becomes bigger on the left hand side, and then when I go and move it closer to my crosshair, it actually becomes smaller. That is an effect of a super high field of view. Now, high field of views are great if you want to see a lot of the map, and in particular in Krunker, that's something you might want to go and see. But you also want a lot of crosshair control, and high field of views don't give you that. It gives an illusion that can actually potentially distract you. So bringing FOV back down to 100, as you can see, the warping effect is much less pronounced. And what you could potentially do is actually bring the FOV even lower, to 90 to 85 to 95. I've seen a lot of people around 90 to 95 area, and there is basically next to no warping here. Yes, you see less of the screen, but it also goes and hones in on what is right in front of you, and doing 180s in Krunker and 90-degree turns is not that difficult at all. This is less of a recommendation, more something for you to look at, because currently I'm still at like 95 or 100 FOV, so I need to go and experiment, because low FOVs are really good if you want really precise aim, high FOV if you want to see everything. But in Krunker, do you really need to see everything when there's only 7 other opponents on the battlefield in a free-for-all? There's not a crazy amount of people, so your 90 to 100 is the really golden region. But with that said, guys, those are 5 more Krunker.io tips that will hopefully help you out. And if you haven't seen the previous video, link in the description below. Make sure to go and watch it. Those are some really good tips as well. But other than that, this is Undercover Dudes, all the way from Down Under, out.